Hi guys, this is Aussie Ty from A Crypto Current Affair, and we're at the inaugural EOS Sydney catch-up today, presented by EOSphere. So stick around and we'll talk to Ralph about what he thinks about the night. So Ralph, this is the first EOS event in Sydney. What did you think?
I think it was a really good event. I think the EOSphere team did a really good job in bringing the community together.
Welcome everyone. I am absolutely delighted to see the turnout from EOS Sydney here. It's really this is what the whole meetup tour is all about.
And did you know much about EOS before you came today?
I did quite a bit of research before, so I have still learned new things here, but I did knew quite a lot of the basics that they started off.
Okay. Yeah, so as a project, what do you think the pros are of EOS?
Well, first of all, they have a really good, strong team. They're very experienced. They've, if you've looked into that, you know that Dan Larima, for example, he had started BitShares before and Steam, and he's learned a lot in these projects, and he's now building the next one, EOS, which is even better, like learning from the experiences and keep improving it.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, obviously performance, throughput,
Yeah, transaction speed was a big talk about the night,
exactly.
Big thing about the night.
Because at the moment, as everybody knows, there's a lot of congestion happening on other networks, and hopefully that shouldn't happen on the EOS network.
We can see Steam, the social media platform we just spoke about, averages around 1.7 million transactions per day. So every like, every upvote, every re-steam, similar to a retweet in that platform, actually results in an action on the back-end blockchain. Steam is probably averaging around 20 transactions per second today, which is a fifth of 1% of what it's capable of. That's what the little dial at the end there is signifying, is that it's basically not being used today. Yet there's hundreds of thousands of users, maybe a couple of 100,000 users I should say, for that particular platform. If we compare with, say, Ethereum, which we all know and love today, Ethereum is topping out probably around 10 transactions per second. And when I produced this report, and when I checked again recently, there was a backlog. So we're kind of at its limit right now of what Ethereum can do in terms of throughput. There's some fantastic development and research going on how to scale Ethereum. I think we're definitely going to get there, but it might take some time. BitShares, the decentralized exchange, humming along at 8 transactions per second, and Bitcoin itself runs about 2 transactions per second. It's actually now it's only 35% utilized today. We've had periods in the recent memory where it's maxed out as well, and we've had a bit of a backlog. And we all know what it feels like when we try and use Ethereum or Bitcoin to transfer some funds, or actually use one of the dApps when there's a bit of congestion. It can be pretty frustrating. Now, if we look at Dan Larimer, the CTO of Block One's previous projects, Steam and BitShares, we can see that that's actually responsible for more than 60% of all transactions on the most common blockchains today.
What do you see are potential problems with the project?
Well, it's not started yet, so that's one problem.
We don't know what's happening.
We'll see what's going to happen in June.
Yeah.
Technology-wise, it's looking pretty good. Next step for me is I also want to test the technology myself. So I started looking into GitHub and want to set it up and actually explore it and experiment with it. So
yeah. So what? Let's go through that process. What will you do a user test on?
So basically I started looking into GitHub, and you can just check out the whole source code and compile it and run it, and apparently it's already configured that it actually runs your whole network, including 21 nodes. And yeah, so I haven't really looked into the details yet, so that's my next step.
Okay, cool. I'd love to hear more about that when you learn.
Yeah, okay.
And so what did you mentioned you learned some new things tonight. What did you find was interesting?
I learned about the new forms and how to become a block producer and these things. Like, I didn't know too much about that. I really like the project in general, but I haven't looked into these kind of details, and that was really interesting to learn, and that there's a lot of content out, a lot of forums where there's quite a lot of activity. I immediately signed up for it already.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
So my understanding, a block producer is like a miner in Bitcoin. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah. So a miner, like, it's a different system. Like, they have proof of work with miners, and so this is proof of stake or delegated proof of stake. So it's a bit different concept, but yeah, it's more deterministic, a little bit more deterministic. Also not exactly. So there's some randomness to it, but they are sharing the load and producing blocks.
Yeah. And there's going to be 21 block producers at one time.
Yeah, I think that's what they are planning to start. After the initial kickoff with less nodes, it will eventually go to 21. But I think it is something that the community can vote on if they want to change that number. It's not fixed, but from the previous projects, it looks like they have made some good experience with 21.
Yeah. So I think they said they needed 17 of the 21 block producers to vote on something. Is that right?
I think it also depends on what the topic of the voting is. So I think for certain things, just a simple majority is fine.
Yeah.
But for critical changes, I think they need the 17 out of 21.
If we look at governance now, again, I think we've seen with the mature platforms, Bitcoin, Ethereum, for example, what can happen if there is just no formal governance mechanism, but it's more ad hoc. If for difficult subjective decisions that humans need to make that cannot be programmed, then there's the risk that the platform and community split via fork because there's no mechanism in place to actually make it easy within the platforms themselves. EOS, again, has got some heritage that's dragged through from previous work with Dan Larimer that mean that there's voting.
And that leads into the discussion around centralization. So EOS has been accused of being more centralized than Ethereum. Things around, I thought crypto was supposed to be a trustless system, but they're saying you can't trust the trustless. And one of the key points about the voting was, can we freeze accounts? What do you think about that?
So generally, and when I first heard about the 21 nodes, I was also very I didn't really quite like the idea, and I'm still not 100% sure if I like it, but I'm starting to understand a little bit the background behind it, and also it is, although it feels maybe it's not transparent and it is centralized, at least you know who those 21s are. So for example, this team that is presenting tonight want to become a block producer. So they will all introduce themselves, and you can find out who they are and what they want to do. And so I like that idea. Also, if you really look at it, I mean, Bitcoin, for example, in theory is completely centralized and anybody can mine, but in reality, there's all those different pools, and there's getting less and less because the bigger ones are just getting so big and dominating. So in reality, somebody could collude, like just two or three of them could collude, and then you had a problem as well. So there's pros and cons, and there's many pros and cons. It was just one or two that I just mentioned here. But
because they talked about the constitution, and then they thought that the voting process would keep it honest and keep it fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
In terms of helping them recover from disastrous situations where an edge case bug or a bug not even to do with their particular smart contract results in a loss or a trap of user funds. And if you take the DAO hack for an example, with the EOS platform, if the community decided through voting that, well, the first thing we should do is freeze those funds, then 17 of the 21 block producers would have to vote to say we're going to freeze it. And then there would be further votes to say, actually, we'll need to change the code within the platform without affecting anything. Pretty contentious if you're used to immutable blockchains, but if you're a business, think about this, if you're a business, a blockchain startup or a dApp developer, your entire company or organization's reputation is on the line. I think that you as a business would want to know that there was a safety net of last resort that you possibly can call on if something happened that could completely destroy your company or reputation. And the inbuilt governance mechanism with the Constitution is a core part of the EOS platform which differentiates it.
Yeah, so that's something new that I've learned as well. So if you want to become a block producer, I think you have to stake your you have to put your stake into the project, and you can't take it out immediately. Like, it's kind of
6
frozen
months,
for a while.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So if you would want to do something to the network, first you had to invest a big chunk of money to become a block producer, or get a lot of votes or whatever, but then you couldn't quickly take out the money and the tokens and sell them again. So you are kind of locked in, and you wouldn't want to do a bad thing to your own network and to your own value.
No, it's putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah,
pretty much.
So we'll see how it works out, but yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, okay. So, so come June 2018, it's launching. What comes with the launch? Is it going to be a wallet, or what? I was a bit confused about that.
Yeah, okay. So that's what actually, I found that interesting as well. They explained that quite well, and I wasn't aware of some of what is going to happen in June. Because the whole project is open source, anybody could start a network, and apparently there might even be several different EOS networks starting, and then the community will eventually decide on what the real EOS network is. So that was new to me as well. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was confusing. I thought, oh no, it's like the Bitcoin Cash thing all over again. And
yeah, well, it's open source, but there might be a minority chain, and then there might be the major chain. But yeah, we'll find out exactly what happens in June. But so there will be some bootstrapping involved. So there will be some bootstrapping instances who then vote the final. Well, I think in the beginning there's no voting at all. So I think there is a group of people who are starting the network, and then they will start the voting process eventually, and they will vote in new block producers. And I think in the beginning, the core team cannot be voted in, so they have to actually go out and try to be voted in eventually.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't fully looked that up, but it sounds it's going to be an interesting 1 or 2 months, I think, until everything kind of settles down. And
no fixed cap. There was going to be no fixed token price. Block One had actually hinted that development of EOS had already been funded. So we were all asking ourselves, well, why do they need this token sale? Partway through the token sale, US and China were excluded from participating. We found out that that's because of regulatory uncertainties, that they had to do that. And the most contentious probably of them all was that Block One, we're not going to launch this blockchain, they're just developing the software. They were going to ask the community to get together with themselves and actually launch this, and that's where we were born, in effect. And I'll tell you that there's some fantastic work going on around the world right now with colleagues literally from dozens in the US, the UK, Singapore, Korea, to actually come together and start this platform. Block One announced the creation of EOS VC, essentially a program to deploy over $1 billion of token sale proceeds back into the EOS ecosystem via the EOS VC program. The first EOS VC partner was announced right away, Tomorrow VC, and that's actually related to Eric Schmidt, the ex-Google CEO.
The Wikipedia, EOS Wikipedia thing. Why aren't they just building their Wikipedia on EOS rather than giving out tokens to people who have EOS tokens?
I think Wikipedia is already a functioning platform, and I'm not quite sure about how the actual company itself is built, but I understood that they needed to actually build something new.
Well, yeah, Wikipedia exists today, you can go today, but they want to leverage the power of blockchain to incentivize us to create content, and that's why there's going to be a token model.
I watched a fantastic interview about why there are only 10,000 active editors. In order for it to actually to ensure that the information is correct, it has to go through like an audit process, and you can only post and be a final auditor when you reach a certain like level, like a badge, and that takes a long time to get. So you find it's hard for people to be involved with it, and the group that actually curate the whole of Wikipedia is small.
And are you about the EOS replacing Ethereum?
Hey, you didn't say that, did you?
Can I answer that? I don't think that's EOS's purpose. I think they're both general purpose platforms, but there's room for them both. I think Ethereum is going to achieve its scaling ambitions. It will just take time. Think about it, it's like an oil tanker at the moment. It's quite hard to change and steer the ship. If you look at immutability, for example, there's no inbuilt governance mechanisms today within Ethereum to do things like freeze code. We've just seen that with the parity bug. So our Polkadot's token sale, I think they lost significant amounts of fund that are trapped away in an address forever that nobody can access. Whereas with the EOS platform, for example, you'll be able to recover those types of funds if we get consensus from the community. And if you think about Ethereum's momentum and the developer community behind it, the EAA, I really don't see them being replaced by another. I think there's unique capabilities of both that I think are going to feature for certain businesses. So say that you had an application that needed to use a blockchain, and when I mean needed, it needs the capabilities and features that a blockchain can provide that require significant throughput in terms of transactions per second. We know that we can only do 20 today on Ethereum. So I think we've all experienced a bit of congestion, for example. So you might, if your application requires a blockchain and requires that business logic to actually be enacted on a blockchain, and it's more than 20 transactions per second that's required, and you need some level of guarantee, then EOS might be the right platform for you.
Going to the market, do you think the price of EOS has been locked in already, or do you think, this is not financial advice, by the way, do you think it's going to go up?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think in general, I think the crypto market will go up, and I think EOS is one of them.
Yeah. And can it be an Ethereum killer? So we keep hearing that it's.
Yeah, I think technology-wise, it's much more advanced than Ethereum. Ethereum has obviously the advantage of being the first one out there, and so they have a lot of adoption, a lot of
it's got the network effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and if they can manage to solve their performance problems and some of their security problems, which is not directly Ethereum, then maybe they will just both coexist. We'll find out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. So my understanding of Ethereum is that they can mint more Ethereum coins as required if they have more people on the network. Do you know if that's the same for EOS?
No, I don't know how that exactly works. I haven't looked into that.
All right, so I'll Google that and I'll put it down here somewhere. So personally, this is not financial advice. So you would say you would buy EOS?
Yeah, but it's not financial advice.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, do your own research. Always talk to a professional. Yeah, so I really like the EOSphere guys and the presentation tonight. Really great venue and really good to meet everyone in the community. Yeah, so would you come again?
I would definitely come again.
Okay, awesome,
yeah.
awesome.
And I would watch his videos, they're really good.
Yeah, listen to this guy, he knows what he's talking about. So this is Aussie Ty and Ralph, and you've been watching a Crypto Current Affair. Click like and subscribe if you like this video, and looking forward to bringing you more information around the crypto space. See you next time. Click like and subscribe and join me on this Crypto Current Affair. Just because it's double doesn't mean it's a bubble.